Today we answer the question of why you would want to join a racing team. So let's say you're pretty much a beginner and you're thinking about racing and you're wondering what's the point of joining a racing team? So we're going to cover reasons to join a racing team, talk about which team you might think about joining, in other words, principles or factors related to that, different kinds of racing teams that exist for us amateurs, and also why some teams fail and why some teams are not good to join. So this question was brought to me by someone I was talking to recently, and he said, "What's the point? He's raced a few times and he's not on a team." He says, "What's the point of joining a racing team?" So it's kind of a fundamental question. To me, it's pretty obvious, but I have a little bit of experience. We're going to talk about those reasons. So first off, I'm going to quickly go through, I think, the top 8 reasons, and then I'll talk about each of these things individually. Number one, it's more fun strategically to be on a racing team. There are more ways to win on a racing team than you can by yourself. Number two, it's easier to win the race with the team supporting you. Anyone that's watched the Tour de France will know that. Number three, you get to learn from mentors. Number four, there are financial benefits potentially. Number five, you might get a snazzy kit that feels good. Number six, socialization. We like to talk about cycling. Number seven, group rides or training camps, the team rides. Number eight, it may help motivate you. So we're also going to talk about those other things I talked about, which team you should join, etc. But let's quickly go through these reasons again. I've listed off the top 8. Let's go through each one of them. It's more fun strategically to be on a team. And by the way, the background of the video here is the group ride I did on October 27th, the pop ride. A lot of guys on teams here. It's more fun strategically. So, you know, only one person wins the race. But when you're on a team, you can find some pleasure and enjoyment from a teammate winning the race, or you doing something that influenced the race that helped your team. And so it's kind of like the difference between playing tiddlywinks and chess. There are more moves to play with a team. There are more things that are helpful that you can do. There are more things to think about when you're on a team than when you're racing for yourself. When you're racing for yourself, you're just trying to maximize your placement. When you're on a team, you're trying to maximize your placement or maximize the placement of one of your teammates. So there's more moves. There's more moves to do, to think about. So that's fun. Of course, it goes without saying it's easier to win, number two here, with a team. Nobody in the Tour de France is wanting to do that race solo. Nobody has said, in general, I'm better off not having teammates to help me. Whether you're a sprinter, whether you're a breakaway specialist, it's always easier to win, if you have a good team. A bad team, different story, but or a toxic team, different story, but a good team. Number three, learning from mentors. So if you're listening to this video, you're probably not somebody that's been on 15 different teams or have tons of experience, unless you're just listening for fun and want to add your input. And please do so in the comments below, because I'm sure there's things I've not covered, and I'm certainly no expert in this. But learning from mentors. A lot of the guys on teams have years and years of experience, and they will teach you, and they will help you, and they will correct you, and you'll learn things from them. And that's a huge bonus. Uh, you can't replace that with anything else. They're going to help you in ways they don't normally help other people. You think, well, I'm getting enough help anyway. Well, no, there's probably some more help you'll get from racing teammates that are experienced and know what they're doing. Number four, financial benefits. This is further down the list, but this is something to consider for some folks. So a lot of times teams may have some reimbursements for racing expenses. Probably depends on where you are. Sometimes they won't, but for example, there may be a decreased price on some equipment or bikes with an affiliated bike shop that is sponsoring team. Or there may be some reimbursements for the racing expenses that you incur. So, for example, teams that I've been on in the past might, for a crit, for example, if there's a $30 charge to do the crit, you apply for reimbursement, and maybe you get like $10 or $15 back, either in cash or store credit from your bike shop. Things like kits may be less expensive, depending on the arrangements. But anyway, if your team has sponsors and those sponsors have put in money, some of that money will then be divided up amongst the team to um, help the bottom line, to make the racing a little bit cheaper. But I would say overall, in my experience, you're definitely not going to make bank joining a Cat 4, 3 to this level of racing. Even when we think about the pros, barely making it or having to work a full-time job in addition to being a pro, you're not going to make money. It just might offset the cost a little bit, but you buy the team kits, you pay, for example, a fee to join the team, it may be just a wash, even if you are getting reimbursement. The socialization aspect. So, for example, this is number 6. Socialization means that you have people to talk about in a different way than you might talk otherwise. For example, in the early aughts, the team that I had joined, although I wasn't racing and it's more like a club team. But anyway, we had a forum, an online forum, back in the days before social media, that we would discuss things with each other. The team that I was on a couple years ago, they have a group chat that they do together where they just talk about rides coming up or just BS or whatever. There's just more things to talk about and socialize because maybe you really don't have people to socialize with to ask those burning questions about carbon wheels and uh, all the dumb things that we talk about. Number 7, training camps and team rides. So some of these teams will have special trips, and you might get jealous and say that would be fun. I'd grow, I'd learn. I want to do that. For some people, this would be an important aspect of their cycling experience. Number 8, that it may help motivate you. So you might think, well, I want to be fast enough to contribute on the team. I want to be fast enough to be respected on the team. I want to be able to cat up and become a cat 3 or cat 2 or cat 1 or whatever and move up the ranks on the team. This may provide you that motivation to train harder and work harder and put more time into it. And that could be valuable if that's one of your goals. So let's see, how far into this are we? 7 minutes. We're going pretty quickly here. That's good. So what team should I join? Um, I would say the number one criteria is to uh, join the team with the people that you like and the people that like you. So like anything, like a group project at school, it's a lot better if you like the people and the people like you and you work together. And it kind of takes only one person to really make a group project go pretty sour. Uh, Race with people that you like. That's probably the most important thing. Number 2 would be, again, this mentorship. Join a team that will mentor you and will support you and teach you. Some people join a team and they find out there's really nothing there. The team is only centered on the people higher up the food chain and they really don't have any interest in mentoring you. So some people might find that experience. Number 3, uh, race with the guys you're around the most. So, for example, I see some guys that, they live in, say, one part of the Metroplex here in the Dallas area, and they're joined a race team where everyone's centered around the place that's 50 miles away, so they don't get to ride together very much, and they don't get to socialize very much. And it becomes very much, in that case, we just meet together at the races kind of experience. And again, it depends on how serious you are and what kind of experience you want. Frankly, some guys have burned so many bridges around the place where they live that they have to join a team that's far away. But I think there's something to be said for just doing it with the people that are located close to you, that you ride together, that you like, and that kind of thing. Um, Again, some secondary points about which team to choose. Join the team that's the most fun. Join the team that will help you meet your goals, and that's what your fun is about. Another consideration is joining the team that has the most success. Some teams are better at having success and winning, and you want to be part of that. That could be part of this. Um, you might join a team that offers the most money. So, at our level, this doesn't really, I think, matter very much. But for guys that are like Cat 1s, that financial support part may be very important to them. I think it probably should be less important to like a Cat 4. Some people want to join a team where guys are traveling, uh, um, uh, like for example, to different parts of the state or different parts of the country, and they want to be on that level of an organization where guys are really putting in their resources and traveling. Doesn't mean they have to be fast or elite, but they're going to be going to Tulsa Tough, or they're going to be going to Gateway in Missouri, or whatever regional sort of stuff that's out there that's a little more ambitious and further away. I mean, you can still be like a Cat 4 and do that stuff. You don't have to be a Cat 1. Um, so I think those are some important considerations on which team to choose. So, next topic. What are the different kinds of teams? So first off, you have your most elite teams, and I'm not here to explain like the levels of like Continental Pro and that kind of stuff. This is for beginners, and frankly, I don't even understand that system very well because it's not even a consideration for me. But you have your on the local level, at least if you live in a big city or a place like we do here in Dallas, there are the more elite teams. So for example, the elite teams are the essentially the Cat 1s and the Cat 2s. These are the ones that are racing at the highest local level. And they're the ones that there's a little more movement I found in terms of people switching teams, a little bit less loyalty, a little more. I'm a free agent and I'm going to take the best deal that maximizes my goals. A little bit more of that, you know. Whereas at these less elite teams, there will be a little bit less of that because it's more of like, this is the team I've been on forever, and this is kind of my brand, my fraternity, my group. Um, Number two, high structure versus low structure team. So this could be very important, and this might be a reason some people choose not to join a team. So a high structure team, and again, that's just my phrase, would be a team that has very clear leadership and very clear goals, and you have to fit yourself into that structure. So, for example, there could be a team leader and or a couple of team leaders at your level of racing, say Cat 3, and it's like we race for these two fastest guys. Everyone else plays a support role. Maybe once in a while something weird happens in the race and you get to go for glory, but there is this strict team leadership and you're going to be doing that. You're going to be part of that. You can't just do what you want. If you go off script, you are going to get punished or kicked off the team or have a stern talking to from the leadership of the team. Whereas a low structured team is kind of a anything goes team within reason. Like we have principles of how we race, but there is no particular leader. That's going to happen kind of organically. And even if we do have somebody that's the fastest who ought to be the leader, it's not really set up in a formal way where that's the case. And you kind of do what you want. And if people go off script, well, oh well, that's just kind of the way it goes. The teams that I've been on, we can just say two teams. Um, I guess you could formally say three, but last season when I did race 4 crits on 2 days, I was the only person on my team for those races, so that doesn't really count. But it is a team with a certain team structure, so I can speak to that in terms of this third team that I've been on. But the teams I've been on have been low structure teams. Where there isn't really clear roles, or there isn't even a clear plan, or there isn't even, most of the time, there's not even a discussion about a plan. And those have their pros and cons. Um, and I would say a third kind of designation, that at least I've observed, is your more ambitious team versus your more local team. When I say ambitious, I mean like travel team. Like they're just more ambitious. They go out, for example, in the Dallas area, they do the race in Houston, they do the race in Austin, they go up to Oklahoma. They are traveling more. When we had a Cup Series for the road races here in Texas, they would participate in those Cup races and try to win the series for the year, whereas your teams that mainly just focus on the local races, because there's plenty of local races in the Dallas area, you don't actually ever have to leave there. It's kind of like a traveling softball team versus a local rec league softball team. Doesn't mean that the guys in the rec league are worse. or less talented, they're just less ambitious. They just want to play softball and not really interested in spending the time and money to travel so much. And of course, there's probably other ways of discussing the different kinds of teams that are out there, but those are the three that I came up with. Let's talk about the reasons why teams fail and why teams may not be good, or a team that you're on may not be good. So, obviously, the number one reason that it would suck is that the team is toxic and selfish. Uh, so, it doesn't take a lot to introduce toxicity to a racing team. I've talked before on my channel here that bike racing is full of uh, individually individually motivated people that may not be super team oriented. So it's kind of hard to get a bunch of really team oriented people together in a sport that, in some ways, has fundamental solo and individual aspects to it. Um, yeah, so reasons that toxicity may occur, like for example, really the culture of a team is driven by the fastest guys on the team. And so, are they inviting? Do they mentor in a positive way? Are they supportive? Uh, or not? That's a huge factor. You talk to many people whom have quit a team, there is often some kind of interpersonal problem that has occurred on the team. So that's, and it doesn't take much for a team to kind of implode in that respect. Number two, lack of racing participation. So you're racing at the Cat 4 level, and you have a bunch of other Cat 4s on your team, and none of them are racing. And you want to have that team experience, and you're not getting it. So that's the reason I've seen some people leave teams, is because they just want to have a better in-race experience. They're getting kind of the socialization they got from that team, but they're not getting the race support and race participation. Another reason teams fail is a lack of money and sponsors. So, if you had a sponsored situation in the past and you were able to do those race reimbursements and equipment or whatever, and suddenly all that money disappears and you don't have that anymore, and it's constant work to obtain that money. And let's face it, I don't know that these sponsors are always getting their money's worth. When that disappears, a team can suffer. Um, Another problem with a racing team is when a team captures and monopolizes all the talent. It's kind of like a team that got just it's all first round draft picks. Well, that's one thing about racing, right? There is no draft. Everyone who's the best could join one team, and that's the dominant team. Unfortunately, that may cause problems. For one, people on that team may not be very satisfied. They're used to being the top dog, some of them, and not everyone on the top team, if they have all the top people, can be the top dog, and that's not very satisfying to them. Um, my experience, for example, several years ago, the team that I was on had a really dominant Cat 3, at least locally, Cat 3 talent. And you'd be in a crit, and, like, okay, I've got a teammate up the road in a breakaway, so we're just all going to sit here and not do anything. And that happens week after week, and you really don't have a chance to do anything because you're so constrained by the talent of the team. You'd almost rather be on a different team so you can. It's kind of like being on a basketball team where you never get to shoot the ball. You're like, well, I want to shoot the ball once in a while, and that can be a problem. It's also bad for the local racing scene to have a really, really dominant team because people don't want to show up to races where they know someone on that dominant team is going to win every time because of the excellent team tactics and talent. You really need to split it up a little bit. Just like playing basketball where you have a pickup game and the five best players are all on one team, and that's not a lot of fun. They stay on the court the whole time, and it'd be a lot more fun if the talent was spread out a little bit. All right, so I think I've covered my main points here, trying to go through this as quickly as possible to make this efficient for you as possible. Um, so I've been on 3 teams. Just this is kind of like the personal experience part. The first team I was on was kind of a legacy team where I'd been on the club team years and years earlier. Then I'd not cycled for a few years, so I'd never raced. I was just really much a Fred rec rider, riding say 1,500 miles per year. Do a couple of um, uh, the charity rides on the weekends, and that was about it. Um, and so I got faster, and I ended up joining the race team years and years later. And number one problem that I experienced on that team was that I was racing up in Richardson, and none of them were racing up in Richardson. They all raced down in Dallas, at the Dallas crit. And so, at least locally, I was not getting any kind of team experience. I would say that was the number one reason. And also, it's been years and years now, but I can also say I didn't always feel the most welcome. And probably anyone who's watching this video, uh, it's not referring to you. Um, 99% of the people did make me feel welcome, but when there's one or two that don't, that is not a fun experience. In terms of the second team, I had a good experience with that team for many years. And I would say the number one reason that I ended up leaving that team is a motivation reason. 2 reasons. I wanted to race with someone in particular, like a friend that I felt like could really be fun to race with. And I just needed to change up the game, you know? I just needed to try something different. And I didn't feel motivated. And so I felt like the only way to really make myself feel motivated was to put myself in a different kind of experience. So certainly wasn't any hard feelings or any problems per se. It's just I wanted something different. And that process with that new team is still starting. Like I said, I only raced 2 races last year and didn't have a teammate in a race. But now we've added, we're going to have like at least 3 other teammates. A very small team at this point. And but that'll be fun because I'll be able to mix it up and contribute and use our tactical sense to see if we can have some success. Just it's all for fun. Anyway, I hope this has been useful in terms of thinking about whether you should be on a team and what the team could do for you and how to select a team. I'll catch you in the next one.